So I'm going to talk today a bit about Polkadot. Some of you may have heard of it. We've been working on it quite a lot over the past 5 or 6 years. A little bit about me, Peter Mauric, head of public affairs at Parity Technologies. Been with the company for about 4 years now. Previously did a lot of public advocacy, political lobbying work here in New York State, and have since been working both in the Ethereum community early on with Parity Technologies, and since really been focused on just the global positioning and adoption of the Polkadot Network, which I'm going to talk to you about today. So the story really starts with Bitcoin, right? We're all here because of Satoshi's invention. It was in the aftermath of the 2007-2008 financial crisis when this event came to be. And we find ourselves time and time again over the evolution of this blockchain Web3 ecosystem that we really have a lot of significant historical moments that sort of tie in with different major milestones in this technology. So obviously, Satoshi memorialized this in the Genesis block of Bitcoin, referencing the Times from London, discussing yet another bailout of financial institutions by the British government at the time, and have since we've seen this technology evolve alongside several of these different major historical moments, which we'll talk a little bit about more in a minute. So fast forward to 2014, and Vitalik Buterin proposes Ethereum, a system that would make this sort of experimentation with these cryptocurrencies easier, a platform for programmable money, building on the ideas that Nick Szabo had in the 80s and the 90s, and have enabled what we recognize as smart contracts today. And in 2015, 2016, while Gav and the team was building out this specification, Gav first started talking about these systems in the context of Web 3.0, this new internet where we're able to build more trusted systems to interact with each other every day. So same in that regard, let's talk a little bit about what the internet looks like today and why it's a problem. So if we look at today's established client-server architecture, you can see quite clearly that there's a myriad opportunity for major institutions and centralized authorities to control the information, data, financial transactions that we have with each other, which is problematic considering all the breaches of that trust that we've seen over the past couple of years. Looking into a couple of these, obviously, we're all well familiar. Snowden revelations were really big for a lot of us. We really had very clear evidence that these systems were not being used in a way that was necessarily in the best interest of the citizens and the users of the internet, which is where this Web3 concept comes from, this concept that we need less trust and more truth in the information that we're served online, and to rely on protocols that can't be evil, versus Google, whose motto famously was, don't be evil. I think I credit Blockstack for this line, really an excellent overall message for our industry. So this new web needs to remove the divide between users and service providers, right? This middleman, whether they're breaching our trust by misusing our data or just unnecessarily profiting off of our engagement interactions online. We need network effects without monopolies, essentially. Another key aspect of the web today that makes it quite useful is that our identities are quite well understood across all these web services, meaning that we're able to get a really good quality of service. But the issue there is obviously those identities can be leaked, corrupted, and then on the other side, there's a huge issue with the corporate governance of these centralized authorities. We really can't see inside the boardrooms of Facebook or Twitter, see what leads to the decisions that they make when, say, banning a public figure from their platform or deciding whether or not they want to take political advertising on their platform. So Web3 is designed around a shared truth, an extensible framework for creating massively multi-user, economically strong applications. Ethereum certainly paved the way. Many of us here know today. Chainlink obviously had its start in the Ethereum community, just like ourselves. It really proved that these decentralized web applications, whether it's DeFi or NFTs or DAOs, do have the potential to disrupt both the corporate and internet structures that exist today. However, as we all know, limitations surface that severely hampered many of these projects, as those early projects that I listed there hampered their early success. So obviously, we're very aware of a lot of the low throughput and network congestion on Ethereum, making it very difficult to use and scale these applications. I was heavily involved for a number of years in the state rent debate within the Ethereum community. Very contentious, very difficult to get a fix in, and over time leads to really excessive chain size growth, which makes actually running and operating the network increasingly difficult over time. And then obviously, the ultimate FUD in crypto today from a lot of folks is the energy argument. It is extraordinarily wasteful. Even in the smallish scale that proof of work networks operate on today, you can only imagine that if the global financial infrastructure and web infrastructure were all running on proof of work blockchains, we would find ourselves in a very difficult predicament in a very short period of time. And then the last major limitation that we found with our early work in Ethereum is that the EVM is just not an appropriate tool for really complex or really customized innovations. On the left here, there's the list of opcodes, basically these core protocols within the Ethereum blockchain that you can call and code using smart contracts. It's quite a limited number. And we believe that developers today need a lot more flexibility in that runtime or opcode customizability in order to get the really scalable end user products we're all looking for. Custom blockchains emerged as a result. Some have caught on, some less so. Plenty of consortium and other efforts have been made to develop custom blockchains, but I think we're really on the verge of the next generation of these because people have proven that they really do want them. They want the performance, they want the security, and they want the sovereignty of being able to customize their own layer one to their purpose. Now, obviously, there are some challenges that come along with this. There's a lot of overhead. Potentially, if you're running your own chain, you are isolated. You don't have the same composability that you would have if you were all on the same chain, which has led to a lot of the innovations in, say, DeFi. And then obviously security, right? If you spin up your own chain, having it economically secure enough for people to trust it and use it is an incredibly difficult problem. Until very recently, like out of the top 25 or below the top 15 or 25 chains, it would cost just a couple $1,000s to attack a chain. So this is why we built Polkadot, right? We knew we had all these issues in the ecosystem. We had been on the ground for the entire development of Ethereum, seen how it worked, seen development techniques and approaches that worked. So we knew that we thought Polkadot was a really elegant solution to a lot of these problems that we found today. So higher throughput through heterogeneous sharding, lower cost of building via Substrate, this modular blockchain building framework that we've built, highly composable by working a lot on cross-chain messaging, and then working a lot with the governance and treasury, which we'll get into a little bit later, to other massive issues that we found both in the Bitcoin and the Ethereum community. How do you make decisions as a community, and how do you fund development of a core protocol in perpetuity? So here is what's happened so far and where we've come. So I'll just make this a little bigger on my screen because it is incredibly small, virtual world. So we're looking back to the end of 2016 when Gav published the Polkadot white paper, and then the first commits by Rob Habermeyer on November 2017. So we've been at this for quite a long time. Gav said recently in a talk that he gave that he coded the first version of Ethereum himself over about a week, and then it took a team of 2 or 3 folks, him and Jeff Wilkie and one or two other devs, maybe a week or 2 additionally to get like a sort of a mainnet up and running. So 2 or 3 devs 1 or 2 weeks to get Ethereum 1 up in more or less the shape that it's still in today. Polkadot has taken a team of 40 to 50 high quality engineers, 4 to 5 years to go from idea to running network. So along the way, there's been a lot of milestones. I'll share these slides after the fact, so you can also take a look. Just a couple of key events that I would call out is when we split Substrate out. So in 2018, April 2018, Substrate was split out. There was a decision made to split Substrate out from Polkadot. So Polkadot is a blockchain built using Substrate to provide this low-level layer 0 interoperability and security for layer 1 parachains, and Substrate became basically its own product as a blockchain building framework for building blockchains, parachains for Polkadot, but also standalone chains like we see teams like Compound doing. So this is our beautiful network visualization of Polkadot. Many of you have seen. I'll do a little brief run through of the different network participants in Polkadot, so I can show you how they interact. But generally speaking, this is what a heterogeneously sharded network topology looks like. So these are the network participants within Polkadot. So when we talk about Polkadot, the Polkadot chain, we're really talking about the relay chain. This is the heart of Polkadot. This is what we call the layer 0. It's also could be considered a meta protocol, and that it is basically only a security and connectivity layer for hosting layer 1 blockchains. So whether those are parachains, which are layer 1s, or if they are bridges to other layer 1s like Ethereum, Bitcoin, or Zcash, they are all hosted on the Polkadot relay chain. This is also where the staking lives currently on Polkadot and where the governance lives on Polkadot, but long-term, or not even long-term, medium-term, there are plans to shift all that functionality from the relay chain off onto their own parachains, giving us more capacity for more parachains on the relay chain. So these parachains are sovereign blockchains that can have their own tokens and optimize functionality for specific use cases. Talked a lot about the value proposition for owning your own layer 1, owning your own blockchain earlier, and parachains are our solution to that. Parathreads, different sort of economic model for a parachain. Rather than buying all your security up front or leasing all your security up front, Parathread sort of pay as you go, more similar to a gas model on Ethereum. Also talked a little bit about Substrate. I'll give a little brief overview about what this blockchain building framework looks like. We have done quite a lot of user research and research overall in the blockchain ecosystem, and we really do believe that Substrate has emerged as the industry standard blockchain building framework, taking the development time for building your own custom blockchain from months to years to weeks to months, or even days for really high quality devs if the chain's not particularly complex. But basically, Substrate gives you everything you need to spin up your own blockchain and allows you as a blockchain developer to focus on the runtime. So this is what we call the sort of execution environment for your blockchain. So rather than having to worry about networking issues or consensus issues or all the other nice things that you want to have around a blockchain client, you can focus on, say, in the case of Akala, which is a fairly well-known parachain building on Polkadot, they're building core DeFi primitives, and they really only want to care about optimizing their stablecoin, optimizing their DEX, optimizing their liquidity provisions. Chainlink is another example, right? Like rather than potentially having to run your own chain, Compound's another example, right? Like they are a DeFi team, right? They were looking for a network to build in and a technology to expand their ecosystem, but they didn't want to have like peer-to-peer networking team inside of Compound. So Substrate was a great solution for them to build a gateway. So in the last couple of seconds, a minute or so I have here, let's talk a little bit about where the Polkadot ecosystem stands today. ecosystem. So builders wise, and I think these numbers might be a month or two out of date. So they're actually quite a bit further along than that, but probably over 1,000 plus repos tagged with Polkadot on GitHub. On the tooling side, well over 100 to 150 products in development, as well as integrations with things like stablecoins that developers need. And then I think at this point, 125 to 150 blockchains in development, vying for a parachain slot or a parathread at some point. Network side, top 5 network by proof of stake, value staked. We're just at about 300 validators with additional 522 full nodes and 22,000 nominations. We've seen that grow tremendously and consistently, which has been great to see. And we funded quite a lot out of the Polkadot and Kusama treasuries. If you're a builder out there looking to build core infrastructure for Polkadot or Web3, please hit up the Polkadot and Kusama treasuries. On the hackathon and conference side, we've had a really great run over the past year or two. Hackusama, Sub-Zero, and Hello World. I would say definitely keep your eye out if you're a dev for Sub-Zero. It's coming back in the fall. And then we're really excited about Polkadot Decoded, which we launched during the pandemic, which has been the largest single protocol virtual conference of 2020 and 2021. We'll see how Chainlink's numbers do. Excited to be a part of it if you beat us out. And then what comes next, if you've been keeping track, I didn't really talk much at all about Kusama today, the Canary network for Polkadot, where we test and prod from day one. Parachains have been rolled out on Kusama. The first 5 have been awarded, and we're in a brief period here where we're going through a number of optimizations and other audits before announcing the Polkadot parachain rollout and then the continuation of parachains on Kusama. So stay tuned. We should have more news about that soon. Thank you all so much for having me today, and really looking forward to enjoying the rest of the conference.
Thank you, Peter. Great chat about Polkadot and where they're going and what's currently happening.